Hello to all of our listeners online. Welcome to Wireless Wednesday number 9. My name is Alayna and I'm joined by my co-host Sandra. So a quick little intro to myself. I'm a junior at AUP. It's my third year here. I'm double majoring in history, law, and society and environmental studies, and I'm minoring in French. And I'm originally from Oregon in the US. Sandra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Sandra. I'm a senior right now. This is my last semester as an undergrad, and my major is international comparative politics, and I'm minoring in computer science.
Lovely. And today's theme for this Wireless Wednesday is AUP Alumni. And we're kind of asking the question, what are students doing after they graduate from AUP? So to answer that question, we have with us today 3 guests. We have Danielle Savage, who's the Director of Career Advising and who co-runs with her colleague the Global Mentoring Program with AUP Alumni. As well as Emily Ide, who is the Assistant Director of Outreach and Advancement, and Holly Rudd, who is our Outreach and Advancement Assistant. So, welcome to Wireless Wednesday. Thank you for being here. How about we go through and or you introduce yourselves, just a quick introduction, what your role is in the university, how long you've been in that position, and maybe how you got involved in that role. So, how about we do Danielle, Emily, Holly?
Okay. Okay. Well, hi. Thank you, Alayna. Um, Thank you, Sandra. Hi, everyone. So my name is Danielle Savage, and I oversee career advising, as Alayna was saying, at AUP. So I provide various career services and resources to our undergraduate and graduate students and alumni. I work closely with colleagues from academic advising, the internship program office, our GPS program, which I'll talk about in a minute, as well as faculty to provide a holistic career advising experience. And I've been at AUP over 20 years.
Amy, did you want to go?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, I'm Emily Ide. I have been at AUP. I'm actually just finishing my first year as a staff member at AUP, but I did get my master's degree at AUP also. So I've been with the university for about 3.5 years now, both as a student and now as a staff member. My official title is the Assistant Director of Outreach and Advancement, but that's just a fancy word for I work with alums and I connect them with each other and with the university through various volunteer programs. And we also encourage alumni gifts to the university, but that's less important in my role. What's more important is getting alums connected with one another and getting them to give back to the university in whatever way they can. So through the mentoring program is one example. I also formed an alumni representatives program this year, and they help me with endless amounts of communication. Whenever we have an event, they invite friends. And when we do events in person again soon, hopefully, they will help to host events in various cities around the world and really keep alums connected with one another wherever they end up after graduation.
That's great. Holly, do you want to go next?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Holly Rudd, and I am the Outreach and Advancement Assistant, sometimes referred to as Alumni Affairs Assistant, as Alumni Affairs is a big chunk of what we do in outreach and advancement. I also do work closely with Danielle. We both oversee the Global Mentoring Program, connecting alumni and students together. And I do a little bit of everything. We wear a lot of hats. I help a lot with our events that we have all over the world for alumni, as well as the whole AUP community, including family members and even students. And I'm located in Paris, and I also enjoy welcoming alumni back to campus when they come visit, giving tours, helping them get their alumni cards, for example. So we hope everybody comes back. I've been at AUP for almost 2 years. I don't know exactly how long off the top of my head. but I was already working in international education, and I actually knew a few AUP alumni, and I knew some AUP staff members, and all of a sudden it seemed like all signs were pointing to AUP being an awesome place. It just all of a sudden I kept meeting all these awesome people from AUP. So I was like, I think
They're
I should try to
everywhere.
work at AUP.
They're everywhere.
Very true, very true.
Exactly. So I had to apply to work at AUP, and here I am. I was very involved in alumni affairs at my own university. So it just
Great.
seemed like an awesome place.
Great, thank you so much for those introduction. So maybe now we can start into the heart of the topic. So we'll start with a very broad question, I think, but maybe a little tricky too. So I'll direct this one to Emily, because you are kind of a fresh one, you know, graduating from AUP and being in the world of AUP still, but like a fresh alumni. So what do you think, on your own experience and maybe experience you've heard from other alumni, how will AUP students they can use that AUP education they're getting, and how do they apply it to the rest of, of their life, like in the first job, the first internship or something like that? So how did it work for you, for example, or what story do you have in that topic?
That's a really good question, because I think that anybody who looks at AUP as a prospective university, the place they're going to spend 4 years, or if you're a master's student, a year and a half or 2 years, it's really important to think about that. And in our office, we sort of call it the crystal ball, like looking into the crystal ball and seeing what your future holds. And talking with alums is a really great way to feel connected with, and not feel like, oh God, am I going to spend 4 years doing this education and then have nothing to show for it? The answer is no, you absolutely will have something to show for it. And I think it doesn't really matter what you study at AUP, because what I've noticed the most about an AUP education is that it creates people who are catalysts of change and people who are doers. I think it also attracts those kinds of people to come to AUP. There are people who really want to be involved and to get out there and get on the ground and be on the ground and make change. And I think part of that is being in an international context. You just have to learn to be adaptable and flexible and open your mind to new experiences. And that happens in and out of the classroom at AUP. As a master's student, they just kind of threw us in there and they were like, okay, go find a place to live. I was like, okay, sure, I'll go do that.
No training wheels.
Yeah. And they're like, you speak 10 words of French? Great. Have fun talking to a French landlord who only speaks French. I'm like, okay, I can do it. I know my numbers. So
no laundry service, no canteen, no dorm.
All I heard was 900, and I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. I can do that. So, but I think it really creates people who are so flexible, and you just can totally adapt. I mean, our team in outreach and advancement and alumni affairs is really, really small. And I've never worked for such a small team. I was a teacher before I came here, so I always had 20 children in my care. I don't know why anybody let me do that, but our team is so small and so adaptable. Like my role at a different university would have a team underneath me of many people, but I'm like a team of one, and then Holly helps me with everything and Donna helps me with so those adaptability skills are something that I can at least in part thank AUP for.
I would just want to add, I mean, I think that the AUP education is really transformative for a lot of our students. There's just something about coming to a very international city, which is really a global hub, and then being in these small classrooms. Okay, right now they're virtual classrooms some of the time, but it's still a small group where you get to know your professor. So you're interacting very closely with students from different cultures. You can't really assume anything about the people you are sitting next to. There in some of our majors, there's a lot of teamwork. And of course, when you look at co-curricular activities and student leadership roles and student media, you're just negotiating these cultural differences on a daily basis. And many of our students, if not most, just become really used to that way of life. And it's like, wait a minute, you want me to go back to my home country where they just speak one language and everybody kind of says the same thing and thinks the same way? I don't think so. So there's just something about AUP as a springboard that I think is really special.
I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. I was gonna add that as well. Like, it really is. I get perspective, even though we're small, like generally have small classes. Like I think the biggest class I've had is like 32 people or something like that. And that was like a huge class. But
Oh yeah, that's very unusual. Like that's one class of the whole semester because
that's huge. That's a big class. Yeah.
Yeah.
usually is around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Normally it's around 10. And even in those small settings of like 10 students and one professor, I always feel like I'm learning a perspective that I would have never gotten if I stayed in my home state. Which that's no shade to my home state, but it's just nice to have that international perspective. And sometimes not even international, but just like, I don't know, there are other aspects. And we have a lot of students too who grow up in like a lot of students who have grown up in multiple countries or are American but have never really lived in America or in the US. And it just makes for a really interesting classroom setting. So I was going to add that as well. So I echo everything you said.
And just that last point about such proximity with, just the accessibility of the professor. There's not a teaching assistant in an amphitheater somewhere. You're actually interacting with your professor. So you've got world-class faculty who who know your name, who know you, and you can go see them during office hours. It just really makes a difference.
It really does. I did my undergraduate at the University of Vermont, which I loved, but I loved it for very, very different reasons than I loved AUP. And my first classes, my psychology 101 and my, entry level biology class, were in huge amphitheaters like that. And you couldn't possibly, if you emailed the professor, they would be like, who are you? Why are you talking to me?
Why are you
Just do the work. Just do the work and go on to your sophomore year. But I never felt that way at AUP.
Yeah.
I had great connections to my professors.
No, that's very true. And just to develop a little bit more on all that, what do you think that graduate student possess that is the, maybe that rare tool that job, employer are searching? I'm sorry, I'm like employer, I'm like getting all confused. It's Friday night for us here.
First they're employees and then they become employers.
Exactly.
So it's all good. It's all good.
So what have you seen, like what skills are they developing here that makes them like unique to potential employer out there?
Mm-hmm.
What Danielle said this phrase already, but maybe I'm not going to get it exactly right, but sort of cultural adaptability. And you
Yes.
don't even know you're doing it anymore after you go through AUP. You just don't even, I've noticed it. I live in Boston now. And if anybody doesn't know this, the Boston accent is the worst accent in the entire world. So, and I grew up here and I get made fun of because it comes out every once in a while. So, but I notice now that when I hear people speaking with accents, I can understand them much better than I could before. And that's like the tiniest example of being able to adapt. And when I talk to people who are from different places, I don't say, oh, they're being rude, because it's like, well, okay, maybe they're not. Maybe it's just a cultural difference, and I'm just gonna not freak out about that because there's no need to do that.
No, I think it's important what you're saying, because it's not something that people think about, being adaptable as a skill and an important tool, but it is, because if you go into a job with a very tight mindset, you're not gonna make it. It's gonna
no, well, you'll drive yourself crazy too,
And
Very-
your
or you'll lose
colleagues.
your job, which
Yeah.
is no good.
Well, if you look at job offers, if you look at job postings at, for example, the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is a big international organization in Paris, or UNESCO, which is also based in Paris, one of the requirements actually states must be able to interact effectively in an international environment. And what you guys are all saying is like, oh yeah, doesn't everybody do that? Well, no, obviously they don't. But we take it for granted. So, you know, it's what Emily said about adaptability. It's about those cross-cultural skills, the cultural fluency. Um, it's about creative problem solving. And just what we were saying earlier, you're not in an amphitheater taking notes and just spitting it all out at the end of the semester. You are actively expected to participate. And in fact, it's part of your grade. So it just over time produces a different kind of person than the person who's just memorizing stuff. And again, you're doing this not only in a small liberal arts context, but you've got that whole international piece. So you're sort of, you know, and so you can go in to an international workplace and fit in and figure out what, you know, how people are communicating and how you're going to need to communicate. You're going to be able to do that pretty quickly because you've been doing that. And then there's what Emily was saying earlier about having to just negotiate, dealing with your landlord and figuring out how to buy, you know, get a cell phone, and the
How to
things that
live in Paris.
we would take for granted, you know, if we were in our home country. So there's just so many things that you realize afterwards, oh, these are skills. You know, you don't even realize it at the time. You just think you're solving problems or navigating differences.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Holly, did you want to jump in?
No, I don't think I have anything to add. I think everything has been said. I mean, I can just add that, you know, being fairly new to AUP and having been at a wide, diverse range of institutions, it definitely struck me when I came here of the maturity level of the students that I have encountered. It was very, very striking to me in my first couple of months. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
all of the things that have been said.
Yeah, good point.
Sorry to put you on the spot there, Holly. I thought I saw you reaching to like unmute your mic, so I was like, oh, let Holly go. But it's so hard to tell with the digital world. But I wanted to jump into something that Danielle, you mentioned just a few moments ago about the OECD and UNESCO. Because something really unique about our location is that we are in Paris, where a lot of organizations do have their headquarters. And so my question for you is, what are the career and internship resources available to AUP students, and kind of what sort of organizations, for example, does AUP have like a good relationship with, that students can kind of reach out to get really good professional experience?
Okay, well, sure. So there are a lot of resources available to students. So there's my, you know, the office where I work is the ACE Center, Academic Career and Experiential Advising. So we've got a team of advisors there who do academic, career, and internship advising. And students are always welcome to make individual appointments with us to talk about their specific plans and goals. I mentioned the GPS program earlier, the Global Professional Skills Certificate Program that helps students prepare for global careers and just really helps them build on those cross-cultural capacities, adaptability, um, and you know, working in a community, working within a team, sort of all of the skills that we know students are developing anyway. But this certificate program kind of kicks it up a couple of notches and gives students an opportunity to really come out of AUP with proof that they have built a whole series of marketable skills that are going to be valuable to employers. And kind of the pinnacle of the GPS program is presenting yourself to a panel of international, presenting yourself to a panel of employers, alumni, faculty, staff, and trustees, and to get feedback before you go out and start looking for jobs or graduate programs or whatever you're going to do next. We also have a very highly developed internship program. We've got something called the Global Talent Portal, which is a series of online, it's where students can create an online profile to look for an internship. We've got a lot of career workshops that are specifically geared towards global job seeking and that are adapted to the AUP experience. We've got the wonderful global mentoring program that my colleagues here can tell you more about. And we've got the employer network, Alayna, that you're referring to, which is, probably several hundred organizations that have just come to work with us over the years, either by taking on interns or because we have alumni working there or because they're in the neighborhood or for whatever reason. And yes, that's everything from the OECD, UNESCO, Condé Nast and Vogue, communications agencies, Proximity and Edelman, the International Chamber of Commerce, Canal Plus, the Cannes Film Festival, Havas Media, various fashion and cosmetics and luxury brands. So we've got really a whole pool of employers who work with us regularly, and our students can also intern. For example, at our own research centers. So we have the George and Irina Schaefer Center for the study of genocide, human rights, and conflict prevention. And so that there are opportunities there as well for students to intern. And then, so there are really a lot of ways that students can build sort of their career development as they go through AUP. There are lots of resources and support available to them.
Thank you. Yeah, that's important to point out, because a lot of students are they're like, oh, but I don't speak French, like it's gonna be hard to find internship. What I'm gonna do. Like, don't worry, because
we know the internships that don't require French, for
exactly.
example.
And also you have the advantage also in France is like some French people might not have as good of a level of English as we do, so that's why they're actually looking for us.
Exactly. Very good point.
There's definitely good opportunities. While you were talking about the mentoring program, maybe we want to jump into that. And I don't know, Holly, do you want to talk about it a little bit? Because I feel like you've been working, the past couple of years definitely on it. So I feel like you can give us a good insight.
Sure. So the mentoring program at AUP has existed for quite some time, and our office works on that in collaboration with the ACE Center. And it's been in existence for some time. This year, we have made some changes to it, not anything drastic, but we have started offering more events, for example, as part of the mentoring program, especially because we've been living in this virtual world. Our alumni are all over the world, and so our mentors are also all over the world. So it's actually been kind of nice to be able to all connect virtually. And so the mentoring program is essentially an opportunity for students to connect with alumni and have in-person meetings when possible, but this year it's all been virtual, to help guide them on anything from more holistic topics, such as how do I choose my major, to more specific things, especially graduate students who are already much more career oriented. It's an opportunity for them to network and learn from alumni in fields that they want to have a career in as well. And it's been a great way for me as a staff member to get to know all of the fields and industries that our alumni are working in, because it's really so vast. There are all these international organizations that Danielle have mentioned, but I've also met alumni through working on this program who are political candidates, lawyers, doctors, literally anything you can think of.
Wine educators.
Wine educators. That's Alayna's mentor. Everything.
No, but you're right. And Alayna, we had the opportunity this semester to actually like meet a few of those alumni in different events outside the mentoring program. We participate to a conference where we had Layla Connor being, she's that amazing filmmaker and director she's focused on environmental issue, and she came twice this semester to came twice this semester to AUP. And in a way, it's thanks to the pandemic, because otherwise we might not have the luxury to have her in 2 occasions. So I guess in the way that's, there's some good point on that, but she took the time, and there's so many alumni like that will take the time to just come and, share the experience with us. And that's something very valuable, because it gives us another perspective too, because we're too much in it right now and we can't really project ourselves too much. So sometimes it's good to have those perspectives, be like, okay, no, there's definitely something after UP. we can make it happen, and we can make anything happen, really, because it doesn't matter of your major. You might have done that major, but then you realize something is coming along, and it doesn't stop you or prevent you from taking that route. So it was very interesting. And there's also like we have an exercise once a year called the École de Guerre Practicum, and normally we work tightly with the École Militaire, which is down the street almost. But this year, because of COVID, we had to cancel it. And a professor that takes care of that thing, Professor Perry, she was able to pull out so many alumni to help us that had done that exercise, and they were, oh yes, please, we're coming. And they come and then spend literally 4 days with us, from like 10 a.m. to whatever, somewhere like on the other side of the world, like in a war zone, but they still took the time to meet with us. And I was like amazed by that. I was like, how cool is that to have those people who have definitely are done with AUP in a way, and they have their own careers, they can do whatever they want, and they still take the time to come and talk to us or help us. And yeah, I just think it's amazing.
We have very dedicated alumni. We have a very tight-knit alumni community. And just a shout out to our alumni colleagues here, because I think you guys have done a great job, particularly in the pandemic and even before that, of really kind of strengthening those bonds. So I'm seeing lots of really cool events that the alumni / outreach and advancement team are organizing. And as you said, Sandra, we're seeing alums from around the world that in a normal, quote unquote, time, they wouldn't all be in Paris at the same time. And so, but they, it's just really enjoyable. And I myself, it is a coincidence, but this past week, I've had 3 different alumni come to me and say, I'm working at this really cool organization, and I want to come to AUP and recruit. There are positions available at my organization, and I want to recruit at AUP. That's 3 in the past week. And so, I mean, I just want to say in passing that the job market is, considering everything that's going on in the world, the job market is actually pretty healthy, at least for the kinds of jobs and, for positions with the kinds of skills that our graduates have. I'm seeing lots of, we had no, when the pandemic hit last year, all of our internships were maintained. They all went remote. And then I'm seeing a lot of our alums get jobs. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. So it's heartening that, and I think it's partly because there is this real sense of community, this solidarity. Just before I came on this call, and that's why I have such a creaky voice. That's my excuse, is that I've been talking all afternoon with students and alums, and I had a meeting with an alum and a student, and the alum was saying to the student, I remember exactly what it felt like to be you when I was graduating and I didn't know what I was going to be doing. And I really want to come and talk to you guys and kind of tell you my experience. And the student was saying, yeah, we feel we're not quite sure. We're not quite sure what, what to do next. And so we really appreciate it when we hear from our own alumni. So there's just this wonderful symbiosis going on.
I think one thing that happened recently that definitely is an example of everything you just said, Danielle, was we had a student in the mentoring program, and she really enjoyed her experience, and her mentor encouraged her to start networking virtually online. And so she was networking a lot, I think through LinkedIn with AUP alumni, even though she's just a student. And she told us, I've never experienced anything where people, as soon as they hear that, oh, you're also an AUP alum, they want to help you, they want to talk to you. It was she just really felt like this community was there for her, and it was very striking. And it was really nice to hear that. The community is so global, yet also really tight-knit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good sentence. Global, but tight-knit. I like that.
Yes, completely agree. And I was just going to add that, like, I, as on the student end, also feel that like global tight-knit community, like I'm in the mentoring program, the global mentoring program, and I've had 3 alumni mentors now. It's all of them have been absolutely wonderful, have just been so amazing in like sharing their experiences and their advice. One of them urged me to apply for an internship, and I did, and I got it. So that was nice. Yeah. And yeah, I just like, even we had like a week ago, I think, an admitted students like whole week of events, and there were some alumni that came to those events, and I was on a panel with an alumni who I'd never met before, and I just loved what he had to say on the panel, and I messaged him on LinkedIn, and now we're connected. And I told him like, I'm interested in doing something similar to you, and he's like, all right, let's stay connected. Like, yeah, very, very concrete like community, and yeah, just wanted to affirm that.
Now that we've been talking so much about alumni, maybe like, and we've been talking about connection and the mentoring program, is there any other way that alumni can stay connected with the school? Like you mentioned, for example, getting the alumni card. Like, I don't know if many universities do that. I mean, for me, it's very foreign because in France, that's not something we do. Like, once you're done, you're done. You don't go
Goodbye.
back.
Nice seeing you.
No, exactly. I don't go back to my old friendship and be like, hey, and no one will remember me because I am a number there, literally, because it's so big classes. So for me, it's I'm curious to see like what other thing can alumni do, also those maybe events, like what do you do with them, or what can you give them, or I don't know what the question is really, because I don't know what you do.
Well, we sort of joke in our office that we're the office of parties and fundraising. So we have a lot of parties
Sounds good to me.
to help alums stay connected to the university. Every fall we call in our office, we call them Welcome to the City, but it's really more of an event for La Rentrée in September, when the summer's over and everybody goes back to work, and it's to welcome new alums to the community as well. So we'll go to a bar in New York City and have a cocktail and get together and, just connect over having gotten an education at the same place. And we do that in New York, LA, Paris. We had a chapter in London for a while. I'm not sure. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't, depending on who's interested. And Washington, DC. We also have a Singapore chapter as well. So, and the leaders of those chapters will often organize events in those locations too. Our office collaborates with them on bigger events. So, and I'm really hoping that this year is the one where we can actually go and have a glass of wine together in person again. I'm hoping that that's going to happen. And there are a number of alumni volunteer networks that alums who feel really passionate about being connected to AUP consistently can join. We have the alumni representatives who help with organizing events and connecting alums with one another, connecting alums to the mentor program, connecting alums to students. et cetera, et cetera. They kind of do anything and everything that we would want alumni volunteers to do. We also have a President's Alumni Advisory Council, and that is that position is an advisory council to President Schenck, and they get together a couple of times a year, sometimes in person, sometimes virtually, and they, hear about the strategic plan for the university, and then they sort of give their input, and they give the alumni perspective on whatever it is that we happen to be talking about. We just had a really big conversation last week about all the diversity initiatives happening at AUP, and sort of getting the alumni feedback on that, and it was very positive. It was all very positive feedback. So, Holly, is there anything else we should add to how else alums can get involved? I probably forgot something.
I think those are great examples of, getting involved in terms of volunteering or getting together. You asked about the alumni cards, and yeah, there are a few like tactical benefits. Alumni can get an alumni card, which grants access to campus when in normal times, when there's not a pandemic. Right at this very exact moment, campus presence is limited because of restrictions, but we can't wait to have everybody back on campus as soon as we can, both, stop by with your alumni card, and also when we can have reunions and things like that. We also have an online portal for AUP alumni. It's called AUP Global, and that's an online networking portal that all AUP alumni and former students can access and contact each other and find out about AUP events, post their own events, and also find out about career workshops. I'm sure Danielle will talk about this, but many career workshops and resources remain available to alumni, and we share those with them on the AUP Global platform as well.
And if I can just jump in, so Emily was talking about the various chapters that exist. Over the years, I have in my travels reached out to AUP alums and just met up with a few in various cities, whether or not there's a chapter there. And I think any alum would have the same kind of idea. I personally have met with alums in Beirut, Berlin, Madrid, Budapest, and New York just in the past few years. And it's just great to see them all over the place and seeing how they interact. So even if there isn't an actual chapter, in most places there are, at least a few AUP alums who may not even know each other. So
If there's not a chapter, there's almost certainly an alumni representative. We've got a lot of alumni reps, and we can get you in touch with whoever, and professors will do that as well. They'll say, oh, I'm traveling to New York for an academic whatever, and we'll, try to get a group of alums together. Particularly, one of my favorite professors, Waddick Doyle, in the master's program. Some undergrads may have Waddick as well, but he goes to New York for things, and
I travel.
Like, we're going to get together with Waddick. It's so much fun.
I did an alumni event with Waddick, and of course, he remembers absolutely everybody and the name of their spouse and the name of their kids and where they're working and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's like a rock. He's like a celebrity. He's like an AUP celebrity.
Oh gosh, yes.
Places.
Yes, he is.
I went to Morocco with him. That was wild.
Oh, nice.
Now that you guys are talking about those things, do you have any fun or very inspiring, or I don't know, whatever adjective you want to put in front of that alumni stories? Like something that we always have that story that like sticks.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll end it after this question so that this is a nice cap question. I think
yes.
I don't know if I have anything particularly inspiring to say, but I think two pieces of advice I'd give to students who are thinking about AUP or maybe have already committed to coming to AUP next year is just do whatever you can to get involved outside of the classroom. I was the graduate student council president when I was there, and it was so much fun. You just get to plan events and connect with people. You get to know so many people, and it's just a lot of fun. And I gained a lot of leadership skills. I didn't even realize I was doing that. And I came out of it better on the other side for that leadership experience. And also go on the cultural program trips. They're great. Those are the best memories I have of AUP were the times getting out in the field. I did the Jura practicum, which is it's a graduate level course practicum. So get your master's degree at AUP, and then you can go to Jura and eat all the cheese.
I think
And
undergrads as well. I'm pretty sure.
I think some undergrads get to go. I'm not exactly sure. You'd have to anyway.
Is only
You have to be
there's-
registered in the class anyway. So
If there's
and
enough
then we
cheese
went
to go around.
There's
exactly.
definitely enough. You can get Conte at any cheese shop in Paris, and you definitely should eat a lot of it because it's delicious. And then I went to Fez with global communications and Professor Doyle, and it was amazing. So all those trips were just incredible.
I know we're missing those trips. We want them back.
Well, we want
Next year.
trips back. We want trips back because particularly at a place like AUP, confinement is just the exact opposite of, what most of us are passionate about. So this is a tough time. But I do love the way we've been able to use technology to connect with, people all over the world. I can't really, I've been at AUP a very long time, so I can't really tell you one or two inspiring stories, but it is just amazing to see, a student come in as a first year or as a transfer, and you kind of see them develop and evolve in this very unique environment. And then you see them go on to careers that quite often are just very different from what they would have had if they had stayed in their home country or wherever sort of most of their friends went. So we know, for example, from our statistics that 8 out of 10 of our alumni have an international element to their career. So that either means that they travel for their job or they're actually working in their in a country that was not their original country of residency, to using more than one language on a daily basis, to just, it's for most of our alums, that's just normal. Or, just to be maybe, being sort of the liaison between different parts of a global organization. So for example, being the sales representative or marketing for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Well, that's a big chunk of the world. But it's just seeing people come into AUP and evolve and then go on to these global careers. It just never gets old. But they're each unique. It's different every time.
I understand. It's a hard question.
I guess, when you see a student who has never left their home state or their home city, and they come to AUP, and a few years later, you are seeing them travel around their world for their job like it's a normal thing. It's like, okay, wow, this person, this is a shift. This was a springboard for them.
It's exactly like you said. I never used that term, but the global careers, like it really is that. That's the underlying pattern, I think, throughout AUP. Holly, did you want to share an alumni story?
I can just say that for anybody watching this call, you should go to aup.edu/alumni and click on the button called Alumni Stories. And there are dozens of stories and examples of everything that my colleagues just said.
That's a great tip.
Well, thank you all.
Excuse me, I'm muted.
Thank you all for sharing all those, stories, not clue what the word is. I forgot the word. Anyway, never mind.
Our
Insights.
insights.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
Shared our
insights.
insights.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's late. I'm like, what is the word? Like between the employee and the employer, now I'm losing the words. It's okay. Thank you so much for everything you've done and for your work you do every day, and for connecting us with those awesome alumni that are, you know, an inspiration for us and can help us get out of our bubble, because we kind of in a bubble when we are in AUP. You know, it's cocooning, it's, you know, it's small, we know everybody, and sometimes it's scary to step a toe out of that bubble. And connecting with those alumni, it's a great way to project ourselves. So thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And
Well,
yeah,
thank you so much. This was fun.
well, I'm
I
glad
love
Thank you.
talking about AUP. It's one of my favorite topics.
Well, that's perfect. So people who are listening today, thank you for, you know, watching us. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to email admission@aup.edu, and then they can either answer your question or reconnect you with anyone. Thank you, Alayna, for being here with me too. And you can, do you have any closing word?
Closing little minor correction. I think the email is admissions with the S at aup.edu.
Oh, well, my bad.
No more questions. But last comment is the schedule right now is for Wireless Wednesdays is every other Wednesday there's a recorded session like this, and then on the Wednesdays where there's not this recorded session, there's a live session with current AUP students, so you can ask any questions live. So yes, that is what I'll end it off on.
Good to know.
Yes. Thank you so much to our three guests for joining us. And Emily's cat. Thank you for
You know, I saw it earlier. I was like, there's a kitty.
This is Tuna.
oh too.
He comes to all of our meetings for alumni affairs. So
It's a mascot.
we're gonna start charging him soon. We're gonna charge him tuition or something because he comes to everything and he doesn't get a job, man. Come on, get a job.
He seems really
He should
comfortable in
get
front of the
paid.
camera.
He's the one who should get
He
paid
should
for
get-
entertaining us.
No, he's just a mooch. So
Oh, well,
Like
thank you so
cuddly
much, everyone.
mooch.
yeah, thank you so much for having us. This was great.
We will
Bye,
have-
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Good
Bye,
week.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.